All right, y'all. We're just gonna wait for a few more people to get in, but thank you so much for joining. I have my mom here, Miss Carolyn. So wise, so intelligent, and she is like 2 years now in her spiritual awakening.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I'm so excited for us to get to talk. I know so many of you that are connected with me have tumultuous relationships with your parents. You have so much. Oh, that's so sweet. They have so much. You guys have so much, and some of you don't have hope, or you've lost hope that you'll ever have a relationship or a connection with your mom or dad. And I hope that this conversation and whatever questions that you may have, just hearing it from my mom's perspective, will give you more hope and understanding and compassion and patience. I never, honestly, I didn't think that me and my mom would ever have this type of relationship that we do now. And I can honestly say that my mom is one of my best friends, and she does really know me now. And it wouldn't have happened if I was just too scared to speak my truth. And it also wouldn't happen if my mom wasn't willing to listen and hear me out. So the name, this kind of the topic that we're focusing on is like time does not heal all wounds, and we can see that with our family, right? We can see that with our moms and dads who are in their 60s, 70s, and they're still struggling, and they still have maladaptive ways of coping, and they still shut down, and they still don't want to hear it or hold themselves accountable. So all wounds, but what you do at that time heals those wounds. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna just leave it over. Mom,
Oh,
introduce
okay.
yourself.
I'm Kristen's mom. Yeah, and I've been on this journey for 2 years or more, and I'm feeling a lot better today than I did 2 years ago. So, time per se,
Okay, turn the air down.
I would say does heal as long as you're doing the work with it. It's not something you just snap your finger and say, okay, I'm over it. Been there, done that. There are processes that you're going through. There are ups and downs, there are valleys. You just have to get control of your situation and be the leader of it. Otherwise, the anxiety and depression and stuff that I feel is like it's ruling me instead of me being in control. So I've learned to kind of not think every time I have a moment, it means that is anxiety. I am human. There are other things that go on with pain and disappointment too. But just, I have just become more aware, just being aware of, what's happening in my head, what that means. I really talk to myself a lot and say, okay, Carolyn, just that's it. It's not it. Just keep moving forward. And yeah, so thanks to Kristen, probably would not have faced as much as I faced. I'm vulnerable. I'm open to see what it is and see what I can do to improve it because I don't want to live in this is temporary. This is what she told me. And said, oh my gosh, why is my head, why do I feel so exploding here, and in a few days I haven't had that. I even had to check in and recognize that and say, God, something's wrong here. I'm feeling normal. I need to express that. I said, okay, because every day of my life I am not going crazy. Here are moments that are showing me that I am making progress. And
So much progress, Mom.
yeah, and want to continue to make progress, even though I'm making it, living in my little castle by myself, and I don't have a boyfriend. Okay.
So, wait. So, how did you? Let's take it back 2 years. Like, and also we don't have to go into certain details, but like, how did you feel initially when I started bringing up all my truth to you at once? And I know it was very overwhelming.
Oh wow.
How was it initially for you? Because I know that a lot of people who are watching, they already say, I know my mom's not going to hold themselves accountable. My mom doesn't care about how I feel, so it doesn't matter if I say anything. And I had similar feelings, but it did matter that I said something, right?
Yeah.
And so, what can you, like, give them, I guess, the perspective of, like, what their parents are maybe going through when they lay all this stuff? You didn't do this, you hurt me.
A lot, and if you have not had the relationship of communication and that was open, it's going to be hard for you to hear stuff that your child is saying what happened. And if you sit and think about it a little bit, you get the feeling that you were not as a good teacher as you probably could have been. Your kid is watching you, and picking up stuff. And I think I was just living life and just going through life instead of living it. And so, and trying to take care of a family and made some mistakes. I'm first to say that, maybe the second. She's the first and the second one to say that. Yeah, made some mistakes. So your parents, it's hard. It's hard. My father's 92, and I'm telling him things, but I tell him in a certain way because I just can't continue to hear him say something that's not true or behave in a certain manner. So I have to correct him, and sometimes that's hard. But that's because I've got that from I'm open to it, and I see how things that we do and say do affect us. Do affect us even late in life. I'm like, went to bed last night sitting here at Kristen's house, and my mind wouldn't let me go to sleep right away, and I just went through a whole list of abuses that I had all my life and all the people. So I'm going to write all those names down. It'll probably take up 2 sides of the paper of what happened to me growing up, and those things have affected how I behave today.
How long ago was some of those abuses?
Oh my goodness, like 60 years.
60?
Yeah.
So when we say that time does not heal, something happened to my mom 60 years ago.
And I just told my dad 2 years ago.
Wow.
About it. Okay, yeah. And I'm just sitting here remembering this guy did this happened. That should not have happened, and hopefully I can put it all on paper, burn it up, and throw it away, because it did affect me in some manner or another. It did.
Yeah. And it's crazy how the trauma gets passed down,
Yeah.
when we don't talk about it. So how detrimental has it been not really talking about the things that are hurting us, how much we suppress things, and how many of your parents are literally suppressing so much stuff, and it shows in their actions and their behaviors and their emotional unavailability, because that's one of the main things I think that hurt me the most growing up, that that we talked about, is that I didn't feel like you were emotionally available. I could feel how uncomfortable you were when I had big feelings.
Right.
And why was that?
Well, what I've learned since we're on this journey of going back in time, I found out that my natural mother gave me up at 7 months old. Went to a party and didn't come home. And so my 20-year-old dad had to raise me, and I was breastfed. So just looking at that, my questions were, well, where was my milk after that? Who kept me while my father had to work? Other people did. And so I have like a span of time from being born to about 8 years old where I didn't get any love and kisses and caressing and talks about, oh, my beautiful daughter, you're going to be this, you're going to be that. I didn't get that. So I didn't know how to do that for a long, long time. I love my children, especially, particularly babies, cuddle and stuff. But as they grew up, I think I was not as close because I had the responsibility of parenting now.
You're a single parent.
And single, and I had to work sometimes 2 or 3 jobs. So I wish I could go back and revisit or live that time where I would take the time and listen to them, because some of the things that they missed, I missed, because my folks didn't always show up for my events, and I know how that feels. Now I think I was a little bit better than that, but that's what happens over time. So you pick up bad tools to use with your children, and until you know better, you're going to keep using them, and it keeps passing down to the next generation.
Wow, yeah. And I also had, you guys know my relationship with my dad. We've talked about it a lot in here, and my dad was a big reason why me and my mom had a strained relationship. So some of you guys who have similar dynamics with like a narcissistic parent and then a emotionally distant parent, sometimes my dad would get into my head and tell me all these things about my mom, trying to pin me against her. So a lot of my pain towards my mom was manipulation from my dad, and so that's another thing that caused that disconnect.
Yeah.
But I remember feeling that and crying, and I think when I finally got to high school, I had that outburst. I'm like, how come you can't say you love me? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Because I used to say I love you to my mom, and then she'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is wrong? Why is she so scared of the emotions?
Well, because I didn't get those words to me to use, and with the relationship Kristen had with her dad, I was a little standoffish because I felt that she didn't love me, and she was being told stuff and acting a certain way. I actually would pray to God. I said, "Oh my God, that my daughter really doesn't love me, and I hope she doesn't. I hope I don't have to die, and she come to my funeral crying, over me when we didn't express that while we were growing up." So that was, another thing. But
Yeah.
we,
And that hurts me that you think that, because all I wanted was your love. And so it just shows how lack of communication really is detrimental, guys. And this is why I preach to you so much about speaking up, even though it's uncomfortable. It was so uncomfortable for me to tell the things to my mom. It was so uncomfortable. But I just knew, like, either we're not going to have a relationship anymore, and she's not going to believe me, and she's not going to accept me, or we're going to get through this. And I took the risk. And I'm so glad that I did, because you've changed so much. And like, I really appreciate being able to talk to you and vent to you about things, and you not run away. Because you used to run away. You used to just be like a plague, when I'd be really upset in the room, I could feel it, and I would suppress it. I'd be like, "Don't worry about it. It's okay." And like, the fact that you're like, no, and you try, it really just means so much to me. So whether it's at 7 years old or 37 years old, I'm grateful that we have this.
Yeah, sometimes the words are just so hard to come up. So you folks, you children out there, because I'm 73 almost, okay? You have to be patient so with your parents, and family comes first. Regardless, you try to make the best of it, and your intimate family, your circle. I would not want to be without my children, so I'm going to support them. I love my grandchildren. I wish I had more, and because it's so unique, that we're here all together on this, enjoying this gift that God has given. So I'm glad that I'm a lot more open, receptive, and I have to defend myself sometimes. Kristen gets a little opinionated, and I have to push back on it, okay, because you're not all knowing, okay, and whatever. There are, okay, I am the mama.
I know, but the fact that you give me the space to have my opinions, and the fact that we're comfortable enough to push back, because that was usually you shut off. You were the type of person, when you were upset about something, you're hanging up, and that's it. Right. That's how you used to deal with things, and I'd just be like,
right,
okay, I guess this is it. And so I kind of learned to do that, and with certain people, like different dynamics, like especially with women, I can cut women off like that. Like, I can just cut certain women off and just be like, whatever. But then men, because of the trauma around my dad, I would fawn. I want the men. But with women, I would just be like, whatever, because that's how we dealt with it. So it's just been so nice to talk to you about these things, and to cry with you, and to be angry with you, and for you to still be holding the space.
Right.
This is what I've always needed from my mom. But I appreciate you, working through this with me, especially because you always would say when you go to the store to get the Mother's Day card that none of them resonate. You couldn't find a card
to give my, that's very important, that greeting card. Wow, that definitely is a eye opener, because you pick it, and it doesn't say anything. It's not like the childhood that you had, so it's kind of like, what is this? Where are these people? You know what I mean? Yeah. I watch a lot of Hallmark movies, just to have no stress, no drama. And I say, where are these people? Do people actually live like this, where grandparents and all that are, involved in their grandchildren's life to this depth? Amazing. But
so how has the healing journey gone for you these last 2 years? Can you talk about the realness of
up and downs?
Yeah.
Ups and downs. I can say there was one. April was a turning ground, maybe, and
last April,
April before, maybe.
Okay,
it's one of those, and I just the feeling, the pain of things not being how you want them to be is so overwhelming. I can really relate to people feeling like there's no way I want to live like this. The way you feel. I felt like I was losing my butt. and explained it like I was sinking through the bed and whatever, and it was just like, oh, I cannot live like this. This is
It was the ego death.
Oh
So
my
what she's explaining
gosh.
is her ego death. Having
Ooh.
to face it, having to look in the mirror, having to really sit with the
Ooh.
ways and the shame of
Oh
things,
my
even though
God.
we know it's not your fault. You weren't purposely trying to hurt me or my sister or anything like that. It was very subconscious, but really having to own it finally. It like seeing my mom
Oh.
release emotions after 70 years was very, very hard, guys.
Wow.
I thought that I was having a hard time, but no. That's why I said time does not heal all wounds, and when you finally released it, it's not just a few years. It was
Oh
a
yeah.
whole bunch of years. It was hard.
And it's the choice between I don't want to be here and I want to be here. Okay, I want to be here, so it's going to have a little pain is going to come with that. There's going to be some ups and downs and whatever, and I've been there. I've been there, seeing therapists, being on medicine, trying even stuff that I used to do back in the day, but no, I don't want to go there, so I let that go. So I'm working on myself, self-talk, into my church, my Bible, my God, just trying to be positive. I've met so many people, I got a beautiful home. I was blessed with that. I have to be by myself, a lot when I go to bed, but I have so many circles of friends, that I have met in outlets. I was supposed to go to church today for women's ministry, but I had promised Kristen I would do this, so I had to give up my church. You don't know how hard that was for me to give up my church. The ministry, but I stayed here because
Mom, you're
I
at
made a
church.
promise.
You're taking them to church right now.
Oh,
Okay?
Yeah. So that valley, that pain, what you go through, and I can understand how people might want to take themselves out. Okay, so I can relate that. I wouldn't say that for the longest. Okay, how you really feel and say, nope, this is not fun. But every day I push forward and I look for something to have joy about. And just looking at the water out my window when I wake up in the morning is so joyful. And I probably thank God 100 times a day for me being here in this space right now. Okay, so I don't have a boyfriend, but that's okay.
I think it's in your past you felt there's times you have little stints of being single, but for the most part I've always remembered you being with a man and needing a man. And can you kind of talk a little bit about that, because I know a lot of people feel that because you had the father wounds, and so a lot of times when women grow up with father wounds they feel like they need someone, they need a man, and sometimes it sometimes I felt like you didn't really know them, or you just wanted that picture, or
I have had a boyfriend, like a really boyfriend, since 10th grade. High school, someone in my life. And long-term relationships for the most part, not 6 month thing or whatever, and you're just growing and developing when you go get to the next person. And I was engaged when I was in my early 20s, and that didn't go anywhere because I went away to college and thought I was finding a city boy rather than a country boy.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you do all those kinds of things and stay in those relationships and might marry for the wrong reason. And
we talked about that yesterday.
Yeah.
We talked about that yesterday, how a lot of our parents from your generation did not get married on the foundation of truth and love.
Right. That's I'm sure my father married my mom at 19, 20. That was just a nice looking chick that moved to town, and they went and messed around, and here I am and stuff. So so I always have had a companionship that was no problem. Okay, and so this last one was the longest one. 25 years to be with someone and not going to commit to a marriage because I knew he already had baggage. So I really wasn't planning on marrying him anyway. It was just having the companionship, somebody to do something with and grow together and stuff. So and looking for someone to love me because I didn't grow up with those words and those feelings, those hugs and kisses I did not get from my family. Okay, so it was hard.
Do you feel like you're finally learning to love yourself? Like when you said looking for someone to love you, do you feel like that because that was missing, the self-love was missing?
Yeah, and that self-love is kind of tricky, figuring out what that is, because you can embrace someone. I can hug Kristen right now, Mm. And wish her the best and feel the energy, but I can do this and I'm not getting a stronger feedback. So that's what I got to work on. When I hug
So,
myself, I don't get the.
so what you're saying is giving.
Yeah.
Giving feels good, but receiving is kind of hard.
Right.
And it's always been hard for you to receive.
Right.
The
So
love.
it's like, yeah, because when somebody might want to touch me, I tense up because I'm like, oh, what are they hugging me for? So I'm trying to be more open.
But that's also your past with
Right.
being inappropriately,
Right.
you know.
Right. Touched.
Yeah, I used to do this too. I used to wonder why I would give people hugs and I'd be like so tense. And I'm like, why am I so tense? And this was before I really worked through my sexual trauma. You guys know I talked about everything. So I realized it was because I didn't trust touch and because I didn't get a lot of physical touch from
Right.
you.
Right.
So it just felt foreign,
Right.
like I wasn't deserving
Right.
of it, even though I really craved it.
So I'm working on that when people have close friends that want to hug, and I want to relax and let them do that. But I had the tendency to just
Yeah, even with me.
Yeah.
Even with me.
Yeah.
Even with me, you were
Freeze
always
up.
she was very much when I would be like, "Hey mom," I would try to give her a hug and she would be like this, and I'm like, "Stop. Why are you like a church hug or something? Like we can't touch." And I'd be like, "Come on, just lay with me." I mean, and then but there's been times like especially throughout these last 2.5 years where you really were just so emotional and you were laying in my lap. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
Those moments
yeah.
where you were literally laying in my lap because you were just so emotional and it was,
and I wanted my independence. Your independence is so important to have. One of these days, they'll maybe, give more care to me. But right now, I'm up. I can walk. I can do
Yeah.
these things, and I want my independence as long as I can have it.
So, talk to them a little bit about. So, growing up, a lot of people, and I think they know now that it wasn't intentional, but you being like emotionally available, that was not your intention. You weren't waking up saying, "How can I hurt my kids?
Oh, no.
How can I make them feel bad?" It was just like, when you get home and we have to start cleaning and just different things. That was
Right. And that's all, I think a little bit has to do with partnership. I felt like I was a single mom, even though I was married. So if you don't have people working together and putting what's important, their child and the education as a team together, you that kind of a stuff.
Yeah,
happens.
talk about how single motherhood impacts your ability to really be open. You're literally busy, like
Right, you're going from
and the
one-
resentment. The
Yeah.
resentment. How did you feel
Right.
resentment wise for being a
Going
single
from
mom?
one job to another, never having the summer off because I had to find summer work, night school, homebound, tutoring, just everything to just give them a hamburger, to eat that night. But so that was tough. Not having that.
I remember when Cherie dropped that ice cream cone.
Oh yeah, it was one time where I only had about 37, 35 cents. And we would go to the mall and just walk around and look at stuff to dream that we could have it one day, knowing that I couldn't afford it. And I'm a teacher. I mean, I got a bachelor's degree and I'm, living like that. So we're walking back to the car and the ice cream falls off the cone onto the ground.
For my older sister, I wasn't here yet.
And she starts crying. So I kind of I had no more money to go back in there, place it. So I picked it up off the ground, wiped the dirt off of it, and gave it to her to eat. That's just how poor. One point being an educator. So I've always been wanting to work to get out of that situation. One of my favorite movies, The Gone with the Wind, says, "Tara, I will never be hungry again." So, so I worked myself through it and, taught my kids, how to save and get out of a situation because I lived a life of writing a check to cover a check. The credit union for 10 years, money. They got their first big hump, and then after I paid them off, I said, well, okay, I paid them off for 8 years. I can continue that. So I took that money that I was paying them monthly and I started my savings, and that's how I got out of the really low debt that I was in and brought myself back out of that. But I always had to work extra jobs.
And I want to actually talk about that because there's a lot of things that I said, "Mom, you didn't give me this emotional and you didn't give me these hugs." But I also need to pay credit to you did help me with my finances. You did instill certain things in me that I really needed and I'm grateful for. I'm sitting in this house. I own my house for 10 years now because of seeing you. If I would have been with my dad that whole time, there's no way that I would have been as financially stable. So I understand now the ways that you tried to show your love love, the ways that you instilled the love in me. And I'm really, really grateful. I really am. I would not be the strong woman that I am today if it wasn't for you. And it all worked itself out. It all worked itself out. So I just want you to know that I see now the ways that you showed your love. And I really, really, really appreciate it. If you need to hear that again, I appreciate all the sacrifices that you did. I feel like I'm crying.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But like I said, this journey is not over. You know, I'm feeling better today because I didn't think I would ever get to this point where I would feel like normal, like got a normal feeling, you know, whatever that means. And I'm on my own. I've been able to stay by myself since July in my own house. And I love my kids to come and visit me and hang around, and my grandchildren and whatever. And oh my God, I just don't know what else to.
These last 2 years have been so hard, and watching you feel all these emotions and watching you cry and stay up late and go to the hospital and stuff has been so hard, because I know that there's nothing I can do but let you feel it. And I obviously felt bad because I knew that me speaking up started this whole thing, and I felt so guilty that I turned the family upside down. But I'm just so glad that I spoke up, and I'm so glad that you were receptive. I'm glad that I had one parent, at least one parent, that was willing to hold themselves accountable, because I just felt like so alone on both ends. And I was like, what is going on? And so just thank you so much for being willing to do this and showing up. It does not too late. It's not too late. And so, yeah, I just want you guys to know that your truth does matter, and just give your parents more time. Give your parents more grace. They may not be receptive right away. After I told my mom some things, we didn't talk for like 6 weeks. She didn't talk to me for like 6 weeks. I told her some stuff, and then like 6 weeks she didn't talk to me. And I was what?
I'm Taurus. I take a long time.
Yeah, she's a Taurus. She's stubborn. And so look at her. I'm Taurus. I take a long time. And so I said, and so after the week after week after I told her the stuff, I'm like, man, I already knew my dad was never going to hold himself accountable. Now I told my mom this stuff, and she's leaving me out in the cold, and I was in a really dark place. And then I remember, I don't know if you remember, all of a sudden I got this call, and you were hysterical, crying, like throwing up.
That was that April.
Yeah, you were like, she was hysterical. After 6 weeks, she called me, and she was hysterical, crying. Like, I never heard my mom show this emotion, because she's always just been like, go, just like. And I was like, hello? And she finally, it just took her that long to just admit it and accept it. So give your parents the time.
Right. And I think it was the medication that they gave me, Xanax. I did not want to be hooked on Xanax, okay? That is just.
Be careful, sorry about that. Oh, it's okay. You can say it. You can say it. I just don't know. I don't want you to get.
Oh, okay.
Just prescribed, you know.
It was prescribed.
Yeah.
Anyway, so throw that
yeah
out in the garbage or whatever. I had to get in control of myself. You know, I had to be the leader of this ship, okay, and controlling my feelings and accepting my feelings. Okay, that's how you feel today.
Yeah, we kept having to tell you, Mom, not every day. So my mom, just like all of us, was so used to wearing a mask every day, so used to wearing a mask. And I was like, Mom, you're going through a spiritual awakening. Here. And so she would just kept getting frustrated. How come I'm not waking up happy? How come I'm feeling sad? I'm like, because you're healing. And it took her a while to accept that we're not robots. She wanted to go back to that robot. Like, I want to just be happy. I want to push it down. I'm like, you're awake now. You're opening up the can of worms is open. Unsee it. You can't unhear it anymore. And that's like the burden that a lot of people feel when they first go through these spiritual awakenings. It's like, man, I want to go back to my old life where I could just push through things. That's not what we can. That's not it anymore. And we shouldn't have to push through it anymore. And honestly, how much better do you feel now that you acknowledge your own feelings?
Oh, much better. I mean, oh my goodness, there's opportunity that's been buried down that I'm going to
so creative
bring up because I need something to be doing.
My public speaking comes from her, guys. She used to speak in front of thousands of people. My public speaking, I would watch her as a little girl. She was in the National Education Association, so she was on the board of directors for the national education for the United States, like all of the United States. So all of the rules and all the stuff, she would be working on that for teachers in the union. And so I would go with her as a little girl and watch her in elementary school give these crazy speeches, like these speeches in front of all these thousands of people. And now look, Look what I'm doing. So like you had so much of an impact on me. You have been such a role model to me, like more than you know. And I know you're seeing it now.
Yeah.
Like, come on, what is the odds of me doing this?
Yeah. Talented.
It's you. Like you're so articulate. You always have been that way. And just smart and driven and stuff. So a lot of that comes from you.
Yeah.
Receive it.
And I'm receiving it, and I've been watching. Chris is my role model too, so I've learned a lot, from her, and she's very brilliant. I look at her and say, "Wow, boy, she's brilliant." And my other daughter too. All my daughters, granddaughters. Okay.
Yeah.
They're very brilliant.
We're a reflection of you. You had something to do with that, Mom. It wasn't like we just got here by ourselves. We had you. If we didn't have you, we know we could not depend on my dad. That's 100%. That's the truth. If I was left up to be with my dad full time, I would probably, I don't know what I would be doing. I don't know if I'd be on the streets doing drugs. I don't know.
But I have to give one kudos to my dad. I am glad that he did get me. Now, Mom left because she could have taken me anywhere else and left me with strangers, but she left me with my father, who had to make a way for me and raise me and give me, that potential. So I'm happy that he did that. And she knew that she couldn't take care of me, and she had another daughter as well. So I'm happy that she had that sense not to take me and left me with someone who did provide a lifestyle for me.
Wow. Yeah, because my granddaddy, her dad is very like financially driven. He's very like that's been his thing, and so it's like that's how my mom was. The way that my grandfather shows love, he's like he'll give you some money or he'll buy you something, but he doesn't ever say I love you or hugs and kisses. And so now I see it. My mom was the same way. Instead of my mom saying I love you, she made sure I had clothes for school. She made sure I never was hungry. We always had she worked 10 years to finally take us from an apartment to a house, which in middle school made me feel so good to actually have a house and not an apartment. I didn't know how much I wanted that, to feel like everybody. My mom really worked hard. Sometimes I don't even understand how you did the clothes shopping. The way that my mom would buy me clothes, I would be like, how does she have this money to buy me these clothes? Because it wasn't like I was always getting like cheaper stuff. She would get me like more expensive stuff because she really wanted me to not to fit in. She really wanted me to not feel less than amongst my peers when it came to my clothes and not having nicer clothes and stuff like that. And so I didn't see it at the time. Oh, you're just getting this money, because I knew you weren't getting help from my dad. You never got child support. You never got help. If anything, you helped him even when he wasn't helping.
Yeah. Charge it.
Charge. Credit card.
But life was a little bit better.
Credit card. Charge.
I'll save a little bit more. But that's how you got to do it. And my oldest daughter, I made most of her stuff.
Yeah.
And all my clothes, so that we had to go, but we still were looking good, making those clothes.
No, I want you to make me some clothes. Can you make me a shirt? Do
Maybe.
you still have your sewing machine?
Yes.
Can you make me some? I would love to wear something of yours, Mom. I need you to make me a shirt, a crop top.
We'll think about it.
Crop top. Make me something with titties out. But do you guys have any questions? Any questions for Mom? Anything that you're going through, that you're navigating with your mom or your dad, or anything, any perspective, any questions, let me know. But what is one of the biggest pieces of advice that you could give to the people listening if they're going to be like approaching their parents for the first time? The way, like, I know I did it. I know I was very angry. I had a lot of stuff, but looking like, do you feel like I should have approached you a little bit differently, or do you think that it was?
No, I mean it's gonna be how you're feeling at the time. I think the way you approached me and you started to, you were crying a little bit. I mean, I had to listen what you had to say. It'll be hard, I guess, initially hearing it, but you can't just go in and scream at them. It's going to be, Mom and Dad, I really need to share something with you, that's been bothering me for a while, and I really need to let this go.
Okay. So you have one question, Mom. How can I get my mom to be more open with me about accepting my trauma on her own trauma, accepting my trauma and her own trauma? How can how can she get her mom to be more open?
Wow. Let's see. What did you do, Kristen?
I just told you. I feel like I just told you. Like I just told you, and I had to give you time. I guess
Yeah. I mean,
maybe the approach.
yeah.
I can wait.
Soften. Oh my goodness. Because they probably will. There'll be some rejection. But any good person that will analyze themselves and see how they've, well, one, I think Kristen stayed away too, a little bit.
I gave her space.
Right.
I gave her space to process.
Is really important.
So, and one thing that just came up, if you know that there's something, maybe I would look back if I would do it different. I would process some of the feelings on my own. I would process some of the stuff on my own first, and then I would come to her. I would be more calm. Like now I'm processing my anger more on my own first to get to a point where I can actually have a constructive conversation, but also if I have expressed a lot of anger towards you and I let her know, Mom, I'm trying to let you know that this is not in the moment right now. This is old anger. So I know this may feel like I'm yelling at you right now in 2023, 2024, but this is just from the 5-year-old. So just please let me have my 5-year-old emotions. Just let me have it. I don't need you to say anything, but this is the 5-year-old that's talking to you. So you just let me go. You just let me go. And she didn't say, I didn't do this. I didn't do that. She just listened to it.
Right.
She just listened to it and just heard me out because it's my truth.
Right. Yeah. And if you have a good friend, that could be mediator.
Oh yeah.
That would probably help that your mom trust or be there to keep you on track, keep you focused on what is going on right now.
So like family counseling.
Right. Instead of feeling like the mom is being attacked, and then resenting it and holding back. Sometimes another person could help. Mediate. Now I see a therapist, counselor twice a month, and that helps me. So talking about it.
Also for me, and I see my mom and dad had an argument not talking. That's totally fine. I went through that stage as well. Now that I've dealt with a lot of my trauma, I like holding space for my mom's inner child now. I like asking questions. I like asking questions about my mom. So Mom, when you were 5, tell me about that, because her inner child is feeling attacked. That's what it is. And that's why a lot of you guys who have kids, your kids are mirrors, and you feel so much resentment on the ways that you're expected to show up for your kids, but you didn't get that.
Right.
You were expected to be patient with me. You were expected to hold space, but you didn't get that. So your inner child's like, what?
And you need to, everybody needs to go back in time and review the stages that you can remember. I can remember back to age 3. And you sit there and you think about it, incidents. You're just going through your life. Okay, I remember when this happened and what was going on. Because even with my dad having me at 7 months old, he was the 5th child. He had 4 sisters under him. Why was I going to a babysitter instead of my
Family.
My aunts being part of my life? So because they were so close in age. So that's really important. So that's helped me to go back and revisit different life cycles that I went through, the time period, what was going on in the community. And I learned so much about my community going back there, that it was so much abuse in that community of how we were living. So we were learning that this was normal because people were not held accountable for some of the things that they were doing to the children,
Sexual abuse, the touching,
yeah,
and stuff.
and so that helped me to see, why was this person doing this and whatever. Just reliving my entire life as much as I can remember, and saying that's why, that influenced.
Okay. Oh, this is a good question. Thank you, Mom. This is a really good question because I actually felt like this. Jenna says, what to do if your mom resents you but cherishes the ground your sister walks on without knowing it. Okay, wait, let me make sure I have something. Knowing why. Okay, so I definitely felt like this. I definitely felt like my mom favored my sister growing up. I felt like I was like the black sheep, and I felt like my sister could do no wrong, and I felt like I was a bit different. So, yeah.
That's a interesting that someone has that happen.
I know.
Well,
Do you feel like you resented me?
no, I think, let me say, it was 10 years difference in the children.
Yeah, we're 10 years
Okay,
apart.
and Cherie was was older, and I had a better relationship with her longer than I did with Kristen. I divorced at 18 months. So that split, that family,
Yeah.
that dynamics changed a little bit. So, and she was my first born and stuff, and probably was overprotective. Kristen came at a time of, it was turbulence.
Yeah, I was
And
born
so
into chaos.
my mood and all that was different, but
So maybe it's like having grace on the situation. It's something much deeper. There could be some codependency with your mom and your sister. There could be some enmeshment. And also, I was team dad and my sister was team mom.
Right.
So we were divided
Right.
by one parent. One parent was trying to do this, and then she was
Right.
on my sister. So
right, and I was trying not to make their dad look bad in their eyes too. So a lot of stuff I just took, not knowing until she's told me recently how much she was being brainwashed about me. Okay, so I was actually a little afraid of her. I said I didn't think she. I mean,
I was
really?
really angry. I was really shut
okay,
down.
so
I was really
I
sad.
was feeling that way, and I didn't get those feelings from Cherie. So that might, we're not perfect. So all kind of things can influence the dynamics.
So yeah, maybe trying to see it from a different perspective and not taking the resentment that you feel personal, and realizing that a lot of the way that people treat you is a reflection of how they feel towards themselves. And so but when you are raised with narcissistic parents, that is something that they do. It's called triangulation. And so that's something that your mom may be doing, called triangulation. My dad would do it, where he would uplift my sister and then tear me down, because I saw my dad and he didn't like that. He didn't like that I saw him, and it made him really threatened. And so in order for him to feel like he had some power, sometimes he would down me and uplift my sister. And that is triangulation, and that is a narcissistic tactic that people learn in childhood. So just know that a lot of the ways that your parents are behaving, and the bad behavior, is the way that they were taught what love was. They were taught that that's what love was.
And it's really hard to love, okay, and to say I love you and mean it. People can do those words and really don't mean it, okay, and you have to work on it, and it's trust.
Yeah, he didn't have a lot of trust, right?
Yeah, and familiar. A lot of people are not even familiar with their own family.
Yeah, I didn't even feel like you know me. That's why I was getting tired. Every holiday, every Christmas, every birthday, I was like, this just feels so empty. I'm tired of this. I want to feel like we actually know each other. I want to feel like I can go to you and talk about things. Why do I have to suffer in silence? You're my mom. I want to talk to you. And it was just so frustrating. I'm just like, you don't see me. I didn't feel like you really see me. And so now when you say the things that you say now, like how proud you are, that you think I'm brilliant, all these things, it's so nourishing to my inner child, because I'm like, I've always wanted you to see this in me. I've always been trying to model you, and I saw how strong you were. I've always looked up to you, and I'm like, how come she doesn't see the things that I'm doing? And it was just because I think a lot of times you couldn't see yourself.
And I have the same hang up with my dad.
Yeah, it's
okay, and he's 92 and I'm 72, and I want him to show me more appreciation with his words than giving me money. And that is crazy, right? I have to bargain for myself. Yeah, I negotiate with him. I work for him a little bit, and I negotiate for myself. But I would feel so good if my father would call me on the phone and say, hey, how you doing today? And I want to come up and hang out with you.
But isn't it so crazy? Because for all this time, up until you had your awakening, you just acted like it didn't bother you. You never talked about that. I never heard you feel these things.
It bothered me.
But I never heard you talk about it. Right. Now I hear you correcting Granddaddy. Now it's like so funny, because some of the things that you come to me and you're like, Granddaddy did this. And in my head, I'm like, that's how you were. Like in my head, I'm like, I hear you, Mom, and I love it. But it's so crazy how we're unaware we're doing the same thing.
I know.
Like you would tell me certain stuff and I'm like, that sounds really familiar.
Yeah, that's good. Hearing stuff and processing it and then that helps you to change too. But
Yeah.
but in the bottom line here, my father, I love him. I mean, 92, still driving, still working, still got his mind. He's done a lot.
And that's what we still find ways to appreciate our parents, because remember, it wasn't all bad, guys. It wasn't all negative. There were moments of beauty. There were good things that came from our parents. It wasn't all negative. But right now, a lot of us are in this season of healing, so we're focusing strictly on the darkness. But as soon as I was able to acknowledge the light, when I came home from Mexico and Guatemala and stayed with you for that month, that was so nourishing and healing for my inner child, to stay with you and have you just be there for me and just cry. I was depressed. I was in the bed for weeks. Remember, I gained 15 pounds when I came home from Guatemala, and it was so nice to stay with my mom and have her nourish me. I needed to stay with my mom. I needed her to cook me breakfast. I needed her to come sit with me. I needed her to allow me to lay in the bed and not feel like I need to get up and clean. And I had some of that. I had some of that PTSD when I was staying with you. When you would leave and you came home, I felt like I needed to get up and do the dishes. I felt like I needed to be doing something. And then you were just like, oh, I got it. You came in, you said, oh, I got the dishes, it's okay. And I was like, oh my gosh, my mom really is like changing. My mom really is like nourishing me. And so I'm really, really, really proud of you, Mom.
Okay.
I really am proud of you. I know like a lot of people your age are not having these type of conversations, and this is why I know that your purpose is not over. My mom's a teacher. She loves teaching. She literally has dreams. She has dreams.
Every night, back in the classroom.
Yeah, she has dreams about being back in the classroom. And so I was like, Mom, maybe you're not going to teach kids anymore, like in the schools, but you still are teaching. You still have a purpose. And there's people your age that need to hear from you. There's people, because they don't listen to us as much. The boomers don't listen to us. We're just too this, and we're just too that, and we're too sensitive, and this generation. No. What can you say to this generation, your generation? If you were in front of all your generation right now, if all their parents were sitting in this room, what would you say to them?
Oh, boomers?
Yeah,
Okay.
What would you say to the boomers? What would you say to their parents?
Oh boy, first of all, recognize that you're blessed to even have kids around you and there, because a lot of people are completely alone, have no family members. They're it. Okay, they are wise. I think we are really have been a great generation and have laid a lot of groundwork. Our children are going to complete this thing. They're going to be here working in the kingdom, and you've got to just love them, be open, know that you are not perfect, know that some things, the way you behave, or things that came, as you were growing up, that affected you. Just be thankful and loving, and be there. Be an adult.
Put your pride aside.
Yeah,
Put your pride
yeah,
aside.
Yeah, yeah.
Put your ego aside.
And it's nothing like family. And I wish I had known this 20 years ago more. Life would be.
Mom, you're right on time. We needed to have those lessons. We needed to go through the darkness. You needed to have all these so that you could teach other people how you get your way out. If we had a perfect life, we wouldn't be sitting here making this impact on all these people. If we had a perfect life and everything was great, we wouldn't have our stories to help bring people into their light. There's a purpose for our pain, and you know this.
Right.
You know this. And
Right.
so I don't want to take it back. I wouldn't change it. I am celebrating the present. I can't get back to childhood, but I still feel like a little child with you. I still feel like a child. I don't feel like we're just, we have times where I feel like I'm the adult and we're equal, but I also have times where I'm like,
Yeah.
it's my mommy.
Yep. So family. We are family.
We are family.
Yeah, I got all my people with me.
And someone asked, what subjects did you teach?
Oh, I was in special education for special needs students, and I concentrated on the areas that dealt with lifestyle, cooking and planning, and knowing how to banking and things like that.
And then what did you do?
And then I became an administrator. I was assistant principal for my last of my career time, which I love that.
She went back in while she was working all this hours and raising 2 kids and being a single mother. She went back to school and got her master's
In 14 months.
14 months got her. Oh, excuse me. She said, "You gonna know the time too." 14 months, and she went back, got her master's, because that was a way for her to make more money and a way for her to step in and use her her power. And so, Mom, I really, honestly, when I even talk to my friends that are on healing journeys that have kids, I have no idea how you did that on your own. I really don't. I don't know how you did it. And I'm so glad I turned out the way I turned out. I had some things, I had to let go of stuff, but me and Cherie, you did an amazing job. You did. We are good people. We are good kids.
Okay. So parents out there, be open to your children. You know, listen, and you don't have to respond right away. You know, take it and know that, yeah, you're not perfect and there's some changes you can make, because you don't want to be, you know, I take my family any day over.
Yeah, the parents. There's a lot of single mothers. There's a lot of parents that are listening to you right now. What can you tell them as far as like they have more compassion and grace for themselves? Because you know how hard it is to be a single parent and how much you probably are beating up yourself up. What can you tell our that are raising kids and, you know, feeling similar how you had that resentment, doing on their own, the money?
Yeah, open, but keep the communications open, the conversations open with your children, who you are raising. Let God be the center of your house. Really, don't think that you can do this by yourself. Okay, He has your back. You just have to ask for it and the assistance. Yeah, it's going to be tough, but hey, you can do it if you want to. If you want to do it and you want to be happy and you want to be prosperous, you've got to make those communications. Keep that line of communication, because talking, you know, kids would listen, but you have to talk. You have to have that time and space. No, get out of the way. I ain't got time for that. Even if you work, you got to have some time, that quality time, to let them know that we are family, we're a team, we're going to work through this together, and you're there for them.
Creating that safe space, creating that safe space that there's nothing that I can't talk to you about, because I knew I didn't feel comfortable talking about sexual stuff. We never talked about anything sex.
My
we
mom
didn't talk
didn't
about
talk
anything.
to me
Like,
either, so you're just fumbling. You know, why it's got to be such a taboo, you know, and learning. We just got to look and see if that was okay, so I'll do that, or I'll do it this way, and
and not knowing the boundaries in your body, not knowing that you're allowed to say no, and it's because you were disempowered that way, and so it's just, it doesn't go away. It just keeps happening. It just keeps happening until one person says enough is enough. And yeah, well, let's end with a song. If you guys have any more questions, we're gonna do more podcasts. My mom, we've done several videos, so I'm probably gonna just post this, and we'll do a podcast together. So if you guys want to listen to this, I'll save it. But I think we should end with this song. My mom loves to dance. Hey, go mama. Now you guys see. Now you guys see. Oh, not the leg. The leg is coming up. Not the leg. Oh. You guys, you can do this. You can do this.
We are family. I got all my sisters with me. We are family. Get up, everybody, and sing.
You guys, we did it. We can do it. Don't lose faith. Don't lose faith. Hey.
I got all my sisters with me. Family.
You gotta dance. You wanna get up?
Get up, everybody, and sing.
Woo!
Everyone can see we're together as we walk on by. And we
Oh, my mom loves to sing.
birds of a feather. I won't tell no lie. All of the people around us they say, can they get that close? Just let me
All right,
say
y'all.
that we're giving love.
I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope it helped. Yo, yeah, this is where I get it from.
We are family. Get up, everybody, and sing.
All right, y'all.
Family.
Now you guys see where I get it from, okay? Now y'all see where I get it from, all right? Now you're not so confused. All right, I love you guys so much. I will see you tomorrow for Sunday service. I do have a PR package that I'm opening from one of our community members. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to share this with you. There's so much stuff that we're gonna do tomorrow. Breath work, all the stuff, readings. Tomorrow's potent. But thank you so much for tuning in to listen and talk. And Mom, thank you for missing church, and thank you for doing this, because it's just so important for people to hear it from you, and to know that there is hope, and to know that it may take some time, but we can't give up. We cannot give up. Okay? It's you can. It's your mom. You're my mom. I can pretend all day long that I don't care about you, whatever. No, you're my mom. I love you. I care about you, and thank you. I love you. You too. All right, y'all. See you later.